on today's episode of I Grew Up in an Actual Dictatorship, so you know we're not in one, I want to give you a detailed list of what Fidel Castro did in order to use America's capitalism in order to fund his socialism and then eventually turn it into communism. And if there is any similarity with reality, well then do with that what you will. Most of everyone knows about his triumphant entrance on January 8th, 1959 into Havana. Basically, what happened was the dictator Batista at the time lost the support of the American public. This in turn caused American government to cut funding for Batista's army. Batista, once he found out that he had no more support from the American government, he ended up fleeing. His army was now faced with a decision. Fight Fidel's army that, although was smaller, they were fighting for a cause. They were willing to die for that cause because many of them had already died. Batista's army, although mighty, was just fighting for a paycheck, and now they know that they're not going to get paid. So why support the dictator? Fidel and his much smaller army just basically walked into Havana scotch-free and took over the government. Later on, Batista's army ended up just being added to his numbers. But what many of you guys don't know is that Fidel Castro funded his socialism using America's capitalism. Since Cuba had no resources, as Batista had taken most of his fortune with him, Fidel Castro decided to use America's fortune. To destabilize the government, Fidel Castro played American politics. Although not a Christian, Fidel Castro presented himself to the American media as the Bible David and Goliath. The American public has always been ready and prone to jump at a story that indicates that America is a big bully Goliath. So of course they ended up supporting Fidel Castro. So that's the first thing he did. He made the American people believe he was their friend. But behind their back, his right-hand man, Che Guevara, created his own radio station known as Radio Rebelde. Through his radio channel, Che Guevara's whole purpose was portraying Fidel Castro to the country as Cuban saviors from the imperialistic empire known as America. To America, he was America's friend. But to Cuba, he was America's enemy. He was saying he was America's friend to get their support, and then he went behind America's back and swore allegiance to a communist Russia. In second place, for those of you that say that capitalism could never become socialism, do you know who this is? He is the co-founder of the socialist idea. He also wrote the Communist Manifesto. If you read the first chapter, you'll find out that he says that in order for socialism to exist, they need the resources from capitalism, because they need those resources to distribute to everybody in equal manner. Following that idea, Fidel, having control of the army, took everything from everyone. Every wealthy person that had any kind of properties, business, he took it away from them, and he started giving it away to the Cuban people. That's what socialist ideas do at first. They start giving away free stuff. The Cubans that were smart and recognized that that was about to turn into communism fled the country. Fidel took their houses and gave them away. Others, like American mobster Meyer Lansky, lost several casinos that he had in Cuba, including Tropicana, Hotel Nacional, and he even had a Hilton hotel. Now, why do socialism turns into communism, eventually breeding a dictatorship? Let me explain it to you guys. Once socialism is done giving everything away, remember, socialism is an ideal. It is not a type of government. It is the ideal to give everyone based on their need. So you start giving resources away and resources away, there is going to be a moment where you're going to run out of funds. Now, socialism is an ideal. You still need a type of government to run this ideal. Like the Democrats is a type of government, Republican is a type of government. Well, communism is the type of government that runs socialist idea. What happens is that in the Communist Party, it's very easy for someone to take control of the party and become a dictator, which is in fact what Fidel Castro did. It was until 1961, 3 years later after he took over, he started running out of funds due to giving everything away. But trust me, what he was giving away to the people of Cuba was nothing compared to what him and his other 9 members of the Communist Party were accumulating. These people were accumulating casinos, hospitals, parks, everything, you name it. They were the sole owners of these resources. Because this is the thing, when you give the government the power of all resources, they also get to determine how big of a bite you get. And sometimes you don't even get a slice. So let's recap. Socialism at first feels good because they're giving you free stuff. But no, that while they're giving you free stuff, it's only a little bit of the piece that they're getting. Because yeah, it's true. You hate millionaires, so they're going to get their houses, they're going to get their business, and they're going to get divided. But they're going to give you the business. They're not going to give you an Amazon warehouse. They're not going to give you a Walmart to manage. They're going to get control of that while they give you bread, while they give you free buses. And at the end, yeah, you hate millionaires and billionaires, but now the millionaires and the billionaires is going to be the government because you gave them control of all resources in the country to assign based on need. But that's not what they do because humans are corrupt. It is very easy for a communist party to turn corrupt. In 1961, there were only 10 members in the Communist Party, in the most powerful one. To name a few, Fidel Castro, Raul Castro, Che Guevara, and Cuba's puppet president Osvaldo Dorticos, which was a big supporter. All of them, each of them, all these 9 people were big supporters of Fidel Castro because they also became rich. They got hospitals, they got mansions, they got everything they could ever want. Socialism is built with capitalism's resources. The party that decides to use socialist idea, it's a communist. Years later, they become communists. It doesn't happen right away. Then the Communist Party is controlled by 2 parties, but the smaller one, the main one, there are very few people. It's very easy for them to all become rich and elect a dictator, and that's how you get a dictatorship out of capitalism. So yeah, it could totally happen.